Anyone who's been on the internet for the past few years has heard of Missing 411, a collection of missing persons cases with certain similarities grouped together by former police officer David Politis. The phenomenon has been made popular by like Mr. Ballin, Wendigoon, Lord Lodge, Missing Enigma, and I swear almost everyone on the internet has talked about it at this point. The thing about the Missing 411 cases is part of the criteria is they usually take place in the middle of nowhere, where people would likely disappear. So I want to talk a case that's happened in just a random neighborhood to a random guy. This is truly one of the most scary disappearances I've ever seen because this man, he disappeared into thin air. Jason Jolkoski, a 19-year-old Catholic kid from Omaha. This kid was a walking wiki of sports trivia, and he had a learning disability, which becomes important to the story. All sources describe it as having like a difficulty communicating or understanding, maybe like a speech impediment a little bit. Nothing too specific, no name was given. Now, Jason, he dreamed of being like a radio host, and that was a dream he was actually fulfilling. It was something he did at his local college, and though he had that disability, like we talked about, that speech impediment, it didn't stop him from being a fan favorite. People described him on the radio as just really good at it. You couldn't tell. And there are some reports that even shortly before his disappearance, he thought about joining the priesthood. I'm not a Catholic, but I just want to point out and talk about him a little because we need to remember him. He disappeared, and he seems like a really good guy. I mean, again, that's kind of a selfless thing to do. Just something, seems like a good guy. Now, Jason worked at a fast food restaurant to save up money for the next round of schooling. It was Frazzoli's off of 80th and Cass, which is still in Omaha. And on this particular day, June 13th, 2001, Jason was not scheduled to work. So that's important. Jason was not scheduled to work. But he got a call from his boss that they were short-staffed, and they were asking if Jason could come in for the day. Now, Jason paused for a moment, and said he could come in, but someone would have to come pick him up because his car was in the shop. So the manager sent a coworker to pick him up, and Jason, who was notorious at giving horrible directions, decided to have them meet him at the local high school where both him and that coworker attended, which is Benson High School. Now, Benson High School, one of the oldest in the area, building built like 1904, was around a mile from the Jolkowski house. So from Jason's house, about a mile. Now, Jason lived with his mom, his father, and his brother. So around 10:45 that day, Jason finished up his chores, brought the trash cans back from the curb, and left. Jason never made it to the school. Around 11:15 to 11:30, the coworker picking up Jason called the Jolkowski house to see, where's Jason? Has he left? Michael, Jason's brother, answered the phone, pretending to be Jason, hitting him with a little social experiment, that little Nelk Boy prank treatment. But he quickly dropped the joke when he realized, Jason hadn't made it and was like, hey, Jason left. He should be there anytime. Shortly after that, Jason still hadn't showed up, and so the coworker calls the boss. The boss is like, hey, we're too busy for this. Just come back to the restaurant. So according to an interview with Jason's mom featured on the Unfound podcast, they started to worry that night after her and her husband got back from work, and they falsely thought you had to wait 24 hours to file a missing persons report. So they waited until that next day, and then they went to the police, and they told the police, and then the police said, he's an adult. He probably just left, run away. Not really, because, again, he's an adult. And so they did not investigate the disappearance for 10 days. Now, 10 days after his disappearance, they started investigating, and there wasn't any evidence, clues, or anything to suggest what happened to Jason. So, for reference, Jason had maybe $60 on him, according to his mom. He had $600 in his bank account that has never been touched. His car was never picked up from the shop, and his cell phone was never used. By all accounts, Jason was a happy guy. He was starting a new job. He's very excited about the next week. He was excited about schooling. Like I said, he was doing the radio thing. Now, they checked the cameras at the high school, and they ruled out that the person picking him up had anything to do with his disappearance, but they also ruled out that Jason never made it to the high school. So, no one knows what happened between the house and the high school. Now, Jason's brother and a neighbor reported seeing Jason leave.
From again.
I didn't realize it's been 20 years. That's a long time.
Chester Link, a former neighbor, says he was one of the last people to see him that day walking towards the school.
I don't understand how someone could just vanish with no trace, no foul play, nothing like that.
So by all accounts, Jason left, and somewhere between the house, like I said, and the school, he disappeared. Now, some important background information. The neighborhood wasn't particularly bad or dangerous. It was a generally safe neighborhood with some bad spots, according to Jason's mom. And all the interviews I could find in articles show that Jason had a good relationship with his family. Again, obviously, no one can be for sure on that, as we don't know. Some Redditors on the threads will try and make a case to frame the family. It's pretty weird. There's not evidence for this, so they'll just say things like the mom's weird or the brother was weird for answering the phone as Jason. And yeah, I guess. Someone pointed out because of his learning disability, maybe difficulty communicating, oftentimes people took the phone for Jason, maybe not answered to be him, but were taking the messages for him. But we'll get to some of that more. But basically, yeah, that's the rundown of the case, and it's so short because there's no evidence. So let's get to the theories. So I'm presenting things I thought of, found on the internet, the common suggested things. So first and foremost is maybe the most obvious, and that's Jason just left on his own accord. He ran away. Again, he's an adult. Or he decided not to play the game anymore. He unalived himself. And there isn't anything to indicate either of these. Again, this would be an odd time to do this because, again, he wasn't planned to go to work. He wasn't planned to meet the coworker. This was spur of the moment. So he'd have to decide in the moment, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to leave. And then not empty his bank account, not pick up his car, not use his phone. Realistically, what could Jason do to disappear with $60? He was also meeting someone for work, so it would be pretty rude to be like, hey, meet me and pick me up, and then just disappear on purpose. Again, wasn't planned. No strong evidence, and you would expect to find some evidence in some way, an empty bank account or his body, sadly, or something like that. The second one, and this is the leading theory for a lot of people, not for me, but for a lot of people, and that there was some kind of construction/tragic accident. When I mean construction is well, I'll get to it. And I'm going to tell you the legit theory within the theory. This I saw so many times, and that's Jason fell down a manhole. More generally just fell into something and died or got stuck, but a manhole I read a lot. Now, multiple people on Reddit who live in Omaha said, yeah, dude, these aren't manholes you could fall down. But there's things like if there's construction in the area, maybe Jason fell down into some construction, got stuck, died, hit his head, died. Things like that. The other one was this one I read a lot, that Jason must have fell into the trash can when he's grabbing him from the curb, and trash pickup must have killed him. Yeah. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they weren't from America or from my state or Omaha, because again, someone clarified. These trash cans, you can't fall down and get stuck and die like that. Yeah. Now, again, there was no real bodies of water near the house. Again, we're talking just through the neighborhood to the high school. You could watch the walk. Someone did the walk on YouTube that Jason took. And again, it's been 20 years. I think the video came out a couple years ago. So it's not going to be the exact same, but realistically, I don't know where he could have fallen and disappeared and no one would ever find him. You would expect to have found something. Now, the third one, and this one seems likely enough to an extent, was that there was some kind of hit and run. So Jason was hit by a car, and the person did not go get help. They either dumped his body somewhere, or he was in a coma or some kind of medical thing, had amnesia. They took him to the hospital, and his memory was never recoverable. Again, if the person did that, they must have taken all of his identifying things, and I don't know. No one ever recognized them. Again, It'd be likely if someone killed him in the neighborhood, dumped his body. But again, this is a Wednesday morning in summer, 2001. You'd expect there to be kids and families outside who could have seen something. Now, to be fair, if you're a kid, you saw something, and the police don't start asking questions until 10 days later, you might have seen something weird but not remember it, because maybe they didn't see it, but they saw something peripherally. I don't know. The people on Reddit like this will know. Now, this last theory is the most plausible for me, and that there was an abduction of some kind. So while Jason, healthy, 19-year-old, 6'1", 160 to 175 pounds, made him not a target for abductors, you would think. But Jason's mom reports he was very trusting, very kind. He'd be the type of guy who could easily be talked into helping someone or getting into a car for a ride. Right. So, to me, that's likely. You have a nice kid who wants to help people, someone who knows him. I believe it would have to be someone either knows well or peripherally, sees him in the neighborhood, asks Jason for help in the garage or something, and right. Now, what furthered the speculation online was there's a disappearance of a young man named Samuel Sherman, around the same age as Jason, on the exact same street as Jason, disappeared a month and a couple days later. I think it was literally like a month and 2 days. Now, for around 2 decades, people have connected these cases, right? 2 young men, same age, disappear into thin air, same street. There's not a lot of information on Samuel Sherman, but the speculation came to an end when someone online found Samuel. Now, his first name isn't actual Samuel, or his last name isn't Sherman, one of the two. But they found him, and he was just kind of a vagrant at the time, a kid going from place to place. And he was reported missing because he didn't show up to a job interview, but he didn't have real ties to the city. He was just sleeping on someone's couch, and he just moved on to the next city. He's been taken off the missing persons list. The police have verified. This was thanks to the FBI agents over on Reddit. And that kind of killed the serial killer theory. It doesn't, or to the point where it doesn't link the cases. Now, on those same threads about the Samuel Sherman-Jason connection, a Redditor who says, again, it's Reddit, dude, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. Trust me, brothers. I don't trust a word they're saying. But he claims he lived in Omaha around that same time, in a couple of months, a couple months around Jason's disappearance in that same year, he was 2 to 3 miles from where Jason was, leaving a concert or something, and his girlfriend, the reason this got brought up is his girlfriend, or wife or something at the time, basically said, hey, you kind of look like that kid. When you were younger, you really looked like that kid, watching something about Jason. And he pointed out at the time, leaving the concert, 2 to 3 miles from Jason's house, a guy tried to get him to get in his car, and it was really weird. And he claims he thinks they're connected. Again, this is Reddit boys. I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But it's an interesting anecdote, right? So, yeah. Now, an interesting thing is Jason's mom and others report there was a decent amount of dudes who slow down through school zones, dudes who take a seat on Chris Hansen's stool, dudes who meet Gordon Flowers, you know what I'm saying? Dudes who just meet up for cupcakes. That's not any creepy code word. That's just what EDP did. So you know what I'm talking about. People who are Preds, who are registered in the area. Some suspicion has been thrown on that. So not any individuals have been named. So according to Jason's mom and what I could find through their missing people thing, there's never been a single suspect in this case. But it's thrown on the idea of that there were some of those types in the neighborhood. It could have been something like that. One article I read, now this wasn't like a journalistic article, this was one of the weirdos like me who just has a blog or something that talks about missing people or conspiracies or whatever, brought up that a homosexual man in the neighborhood was accused and ridiculed because of this case till he left town. I haven't been able to re-find that article. This was my initial research, but I've seen nothing mentioned of that, not in the interviews with Jason's mom, none of the articles, nothing. So I don't know where that came from. But apparently there were some Preds in the neighborhood. That's unconnected. I just thought it was a random story. But again, never a suspect, never any evidence in any direction. The police thoroughly cleared the coworker, like I said. So, to me, and again, this really couldn't have been a targeted crime because Jason was not planned to walk to the school to go to work. So this would have been, if something did happen, it would have been a crime of opportunity. And so going back, a lot of people online, like I said, have speculated foul play. Jason's family speculates foul play.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created an age progression photo that shows what Jolkowski would look like now at the age of 39.
Someone does know something. We need someone to come forward and help, alleviate all our pain.
And a lot of people online speculate Jason's family. Now, I want to preface this with, I'm not saying they're a part of anything. I don't personally think they are a part of anything. I don't want any guilt associated with them. But I'm covering the case. I'm covering what people think. So, like in America, we shit online. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So some people speculate this because Jason's mom, who, after this, by the way, went on to, found a charity, get Jason's Law passed, which set up a statewide database, has, awards from politicians for helping these families of missing people. I mean, she went on to try and do a lot. But they accuse her of some suspicious stuff because shortly after this, she divorced Jason's dad and moved across the country, changed names, and started posting some weird stuff online. Now, the weird stuff I read wasn't that weird. It would just be nothing super weird. I mean, I couldn't pull it up, to be honest. I think she's tried to kind of scrub herself a little bit. I don't think that's suspicious, by the way. And I mean that. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I think she's a deeply religious family. The people on Reddit don't like religion, especially Catholics, and the priest. I saw a bunch of comments a priest did it because their family's Catholic. I mean, that's absurd, dude. And so I think people read into the mom's post and want to assign guilt there. Again, no tons of evidence. Now, people like to throw things on the little brother. So they'll say it was very weird. The little brother pretended to be Jason on the phone. Now, the other thing they'll point out is the brother's story kind of differs, and the mom's story or recollection of what the brother did or said differs too between accounts, to the point of just whether the brother helped him take in the trash cans or the brother watched him take in the trash cans from a window. That's about the differences we're talking about. But they throw it on the brother and the family, and they just say, hey, must have been an accident or something. They didn't want to get little brother's life ruined, so they covered it up. That's about where it goes. Like I said, the family has gone on to, the mom, but I don't want to credit the whole family, and the dad to an extent, to really try and help other families who are going through this. Again, so my theory, just reiterate, pure speculation. Now, if you have a different theory, please put it in the comments. Very interested in hearing what you guys think happened. Is that Jason was lured into a house or car, either for a ride or to help someone, and if someone he knew closely to peripherally, like I said, either just recognized them enough he wasn't going to be too uncomfortable. And after that, who knows what happened, but Jason is no longer with us. But for all I really know, he did get that Thanos snap treatment, just disappeared into thin air. Now, obviously, if you have any information, you can contact the Omaha Police, the Center for Missing Children, the FBI. And according to all the latest information I could find, this is still an open case being investigated. This has been Bendy. Stay safe and have a good night.
Hey.
Bendy.